Hello and welcome back to Living 757. Here at Living 757, we pride ourselves on being diverse and inclusive. In the way the world is going today, we find it of utmost importance to remember history. Today we have with us a professor of history from ODU to talk to us about the Holocaust Remembrance. Welcome, Annette.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, January 27th is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. What is the significance of that?
The significance is that in about 2005, the United Nations, through its United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, identified January 27th as Holocaust Remembrance Day. And that is associated with January 27th of 1945, when the Soviet Red Army liberated the concentration extermination camp Auschwitz-Birkenau. And that really was the moment when the world became aware of the horrific atrocities that had been committed because a young Soviet cameraman by the name of Alexander Vorontsov took film footage that you see today in just about every Holocaust documentary. And that newsreel footage was not only used at the Nuremberg trials as evidence, but it was also broadcast around the world.
Okay. Professor, yeah, this is a very interesting. Why do you choose to study the Holocaust?
Well, I think I'll tell you a story, actually. In 2013, I was in Paris with some of my students I had taken to study the Holocaust. We went to France and then we went to Poland. And we were meeting with a survivor. And at the end of our talk, he rolled up his sleeve and he showed us the numerical tattoo on his arm. His name was Jacques Altman, and he was in his late 80s. And when he did that, he grabbed my arm and he held on to me. And I have never felt such warmth and energy sort of surge through me, surge through the room. And clearly he was vesting us, my students, with memory, with the responsibility of memory, with a moment that we would remember after he was gone. And so in terms of, why I think studying the Holocaust is important, that story is powerful to me. It reminds me of what Elie Wiesel would say about teaching as advocacy. And Elie Wiesel really thought that you can awake ethical consciousness in students by what you do in the classroom. And that is to discuss critical thinking in terms of history and in terms of human nature and in terms of what it is, what racism, anti-Semitism, xenophobia is, why we must fight nationalism and authoritarianism, and why we must protect democracy. All of those things you can do in a classroom, and that's why I think Holocaust education is so important.
I really love that because I can see the passion in the way that I change your mind when you just explain the story. I love it.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Finley. And you talked a lot about remembering and teaching. So here we are in the 21st century, right? Why is remembering the Holocaust so important right now?
Well, I think I will reference one of my favorite authors, Father Patrick Dubois, who's a Catholic priest, but also heads an international Holocaust education organization. And he has written that the quote is something to the extent of believing in humanity, believing in the human race is a great responsibility. And when he says that, what he really means, and he goes on to say, is that if you realize that you're a part of this human race, you must understand that this human race, that there are individuals that consider themselves good and have gone or can go out and shoot a 2-year-old baby out of its mother's arms and go home that night and still consider to be good. And so we have to constantly fight that. In terms of Holocaust education, what we're trying to do is create a global citizenry that is infused with responsibility for social justice, that is infused with responsibility to identify racism, anti-Semitism, and other forms of hatred where we see it and denounce it and work for that human good.
Okay. Yeah, this is a great topic. Thank you so much, Professor, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. Now, we were talking about an important day to remember this month, but it is also important to remember that January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Here with us today, we have a cervical cancer survivor. So welcome to my good friend, Marina.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm happy to be here. Hello.
Hi, Lorena. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
Now, when you were 21, something crazy happened. Can you kind of like talk us through what happened that day back when you were 21?
Definitely. So my mom has always been a big advocate of go in, get your pap smear. It's annoying, I know, but go. So I was a good girl and listened. And when I was 21, I went in for my yearly pap smear. And sure enough, doctors found cancer. It was terrifying. It was so scary. They didn't know if it was pre-cancer cells, but indeed it was cervical cancer cells. So that's when I found out I had cervical cancer, and I had no symptoms at all when I went in.
So how important is the early detention, right? Because like I used to say, you follow your mom advice, but sometimes we don't have that opportunity. Lorena, just a quick question. What challenges do you face after you find out that you have a cervical cancer? I'm sorry.
So it was really scary. I had to do a hysterectomy. So doctors took out my cervix and my uterus, which means in order to have kids, I, would have to take out my eggs and make embryos. And obviously I couldn't carry with no uterus. So I'm 31 now. So, my cancer was 10 years ago. Since then, I've faced all those obstacles head on. I started my egg retrieval process 2 years ago. Doctors here in Texas were able to take out 10 of my eggs. We mixed them with my husband's sperm last year and created 2 embryos we got, which was amazing news. We have 1 boy, 1 healthy girl. And then we had to find a surrogate. So that's Megan. She's amazing. She is our carrier.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. She lives 2 hours away from us. She's a 5th grade teacher, married with 2 children, and she's our earth angel. Very lucky to have her.
Yes, she is an angel, and we've seen some pictures right there. And I believe the steps that you have to take one at a time, right, is a challenge also. Can you just explain the experience about the surrogate mother, like how that works?
So as far as her and I's relationship?
Yes, like how that works.
Okay, so everybody wants a different relationship with their carrier or intended parents. That's what me and my husband are. We wanted the same thing. We wanted a friendship, and that's just what we got. Okay. So over this time, we've been able to bond and become friends. And her husband, her kids, they are family to us now. We'll have them in our lives. I mean, forever. I'm excited to invite them to birthday parties and let them be a part of our child's life.
So happy for you.
And somebody that has been constant just now in you telling us the story and in those photos is your wonderful hubby, Thomas. Mm-hmm. I know firsthand because I was there. Y'all have an amazing story of how you met. So can you tell us about how you guys met?
Sure. So Thomas and I were both in Vegas at the same time. We were both having fun. We were both with our friends. We weren't expecting to run into the love of our lives, but I was out with my girls and I met him, and he's absolutely wonderful. He's a Texas gentleman. He's just so kind. He's everything that I've ever wanted in a hubby, and I just feel blessed to have him. And he is so on board with all of my surrogacy, journey and all of that. He's just been the best partner ever.
I love it.
That's a beautiful picture. I love that, Kevin. Is that you guys build it together?
So yeah, Thomas is a hunter. We live in Texas, so he's had this 30-acre ranch for 10 years, and finally, coronavirus came, and our wedding was and we started building at the land. So that little cabin was the result of that.
I love it. And in the spirit of this month of cervical cancer awareness, do you have any advice for younger girls, either before or after they've been diagnosed?
Definitely stay on top of your pap smears, please. Even with COVID happening, still go into the doctor. If doctors say, you're fine to wait 5 years, you can still go in every single year and say, I want one. So I would definitely recommend staying on top of that. If you are diagnosed, try not to let your body get stressed out. That's the most important thing, is stay positive, and you can overcome it.
Wow, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Lorraine, for your testimony today. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, if you are tired of staring at the same four walls in your place, stay with us. We're going to the break.